incredible episode of Coffee with Gable. I'm super excited to welcome Kate Varney, who is the first HR leader for TikTok's revenue team. Kate, thank you so much for joining us from sunny New York, summery New York. Um, let's dive right in. So I think one of the things that we talked about briefly is basically that you were the first HR hire for TikTok's revenue team in the Americas. So how did it feel to actually join a team that was 35 people when you joined and have now having a team of several thousands employees?
It has been quite a journey, Liza. And actually, I have to give credit. We had one HR person who started a month before me, Trinia McDonald, who is my right hand and just an incredible leader herself. And she did my welcome onboarding, which was meeting me at the lobby of WeWork to show me where the space would be, and it was so interesting going through that phase. And I've been in the office all week in New York, where we're all getting ready to go back to the office, and it's amazing. There's these 5 beautiful floors, and it has this energy. It's very TikTok. But 3 years ago, when I joined, there was maybe 20 people in New York and a few handful in LA. And we were just in a little corner in a WeWork office by Rockefeller Center. And everyone was doing 5 jobs, kind of wearing many hats as you do when you're in very, very early startup mode. And everyone knew each other's name. One of the women on the sales team hosted the entire office in her New York apartment. That's how small we were. For a 4th of July karaoke party. And, we've had this weird intermission where we've all been working from home for 2.5 years. And over those 2.5 years, I think at the start of COVID, we were about 100 people. And now, as you said, we're about 3,500 in the Americas. And so we had this 2.5 years where we didn't really see each other in person. We weren't doing these in-person events. And now it has exploded. There's so many of us to meet and get together. And so it's been an incredible journey, but really so much to learn from. And I think it's fun doing chats like this because we're all learning in it together. None of us have ever experienced this before. Forced remote work when you couldn't go to an office, and learning how to adapt and how to have virtual culture and virtual onboarding and virtual hiring and training. It's been fascinating from a learning perspective.
So let's dive deep into that. I think that this is extremely relevant because I'm sure you'll have a lot more virtual onboarding and virtual hiring and all of those things, everything that you've effectively perfected in the last 2.5 years. It's very relevant. So if you can share a little bit about how did hiring look like, what did you do in terms of the process in general, and how do you scale that process, right? Because you have scaled multiple times over those years.
I think one incredible recruitment team. I cannot give enough kudos to our amazing talent acquisition partners. And it was all so quick, right? We went from interviewing in person at the start of the pandemic, and everyone globally was very nervous. And in a pandemic or something like that, it's not necessarily the natural time to change jobs. Right? Like, there's so much uncertainty going on in the world that interviewing for a new job at a company that is very small, like 100 people in the US, it's a small company. People were taking a risk on us. It was people who really were entrepreneurs, who were even willing to take that Zoom call. And having Zoom interviews, perfecting the art of the Zoom small talk and the Zoom chat was interesting. But then, one of the recruiters' worries was, will people actually want to come over? Even if we give them an offer, they haven't been in the office yet. We're not quite sure when we're going to reopen offices. And this is March or April of 2020. We all thought we were just going to work from home for a few weeks and then be back. So we were thinking, how do we keep these candidates engaged? How do we keep offers engaged? when we can't physically talk to them or they can't come and feel the excitement. And so we started sending little welcome kits and little welcome swag boxes, even
Okay.
like a TikTok hat or a notebook and pen and t-shirt that said, to get you started on your first day, even if you're going to be at home, here's a little piece of TikTok to get you excited. And so we were trying to be really creative. And those things I think are now quite standard for a lot of us, of sending a welcome kit to someone's house.
Yes.
But 3 years ago, it was still interesting. It was new for us. We used to do that in the office, and now we do care packages that we send to people's home. That got to be so popular that we have just kind of snowballed our swag, and people get swag all the time sent to their house. My kids are like, "Oh, it's a TikTok present, mommy! Look what TikTok sent us!" And
Love.
we realized people felt really connected. You like getting mail and getting something from a company, and it's that fun feeling. And so a lot of it has been trying to figure out, how do we scale a personal approach? Things
Okay.
like interviewing, that face-to-face chemistry, walking around the office, feeling that culture, all of those things we had to do virtually. And then how do you scale that? Because it is a lot of human hours. And so some of the things were very simple, like welcome kits sent to people's houses. But some others were doing virtual panels instead, and trying to be mindful of people's time and not scheduling 8 hours of Zoom calls, but maybe an hour, and having 3 or 4 people participate at the same time, so that a candidate didn't have to sit back to back to back. And so we've tried to be very thoughtful. Definitely haven't perfected it, because we need to always be getting better at it. We always want to iterate and think it through. And, after hiring, Liza, a big concern was, how do we onboard? What are we going to do with all of these people who have joined us and taken the plunge remotely? They got their cap and their notebook and they're ready. And then, what an interesting experience. So millions of people started jobs over the last 2.5 years. And by starting the job, for a lot of people, it was logging in online. You just go online to your first with your new boss. You're not walking into an office. No one's taking you to lunch. You don't find a desk. You just open a laptop. And, it was, how do we drop ship laptops to people? How do we do that IT ahead of time to get people set up? How do we organize virtual onboarding that is fun? It's very TikTok. It's engaging. People want to be staring at their screen for a few hours a day, learning about their new team, learning about new managers, learning about each other. And so we really heavily invested in our training and development team, which are, I think, incredible, outstanding stars for all of us across the board. They have taken training to a totally new height that is immersive, that's fun. People make TikToks. We use TikToks to highlight different parts of the product and teach roles and responsibilities. And, each onboarding class is almost like a cohort, kind of like business school cohort, of very cross-functional roles. You never know who's going to be in the onboarding that week, but maybe it's 50 people. And all of a sudden you now have a cohort like you would have in an office, where you meet people outside of your team when you get coffee, share an elevator. That can be a social group to network with and learn from and share experiences. And so we've tried to think outside the box, and also be very thoughtful of the time people are spending online, like not to over burn out from staring at a screen.
100%. And I think we all already are in the Zoom fatigue phase, that you're just back on back on back. That's for sure. What I really like that you mentioned is the cohort aspect of it. That basically you onboard new employees in cohorts, and then they feel some sort of a connection, right, to this cohort in a sense, right? And also it helps with saving time, right? Because it's not back to back; it's all meshed together. So I'm wondering, what additional, you mentioned innovative and out of the box things that you have done for either onboarding or welcoming that you would like to share.
Um, let's see. So, I mean, as part of the onboarding, and I think really everyone could do this if I was making a plug for TikTok itself, was for us, it's use the product that you're
Cool.
teaching people about in your onboarding or in your culture, in your trainings. And so we make TikToks. When your sales team it shows you a TikTok of a new product, and the sales team is using TikToks, or our product team is creating 30-second or 15-second video tutorials that are fun and engaging. That's a way to make learning and development fun. It's quick, it's bite size. We can put leadership principles up there for new managers training. We can do culture principles up there for learning about the company. So doing it in this like 15, 30-second bite size lessons makes it a little bit more fun than just watching a lecture or listening to someone talk at you. For us, it was also having the cohorts make their own TikToks together. So they had to go away and
Wow.
show us, prove that they've learned how to use the product by the end of the week, which is always quite fun to get together, and then everybody watches each other's and you vote on the winning ones. It's super, super fun. But I think that we've learned a lot over the last 2.5 years. And I think we've all changed. Like you said, there's Zoom fatigue and being online. And in the first 6 months, we were trying to do everything we could to be online, to support each other, to say that we're all here. And we did virtual movie nights. So we'd pick a movie and everybody would live chat it, like as if you were heckling a movie together. You'd just be watching it at home. But live chat, and the virtual happy hours and virtual murder mysteries and all sorts of the virtual drag bingo, like so many fun things. But people got tired of logging in to have fun, and it became more incorporating mindfulness and putting blocks on the calendar to say, twice a week here is meditation to listen to for 30 minutes, or twice a week here's a yoga class to attend if you want. And it started by having someone, just an employee who was yoga trained and certified and liked doing classes, to teach yoga on Fridays. And it was so popular that we now do it twice a week, and we have teachers teaching it. And it's a great time to just come in. You could do that virtually because you could just have your headphones on and take a break, and it's right there in the calendar to encourage you to participate as a company sponsored event. So we've tried to be thoughtful of the employee experience, take lots of feedback from employees, see how they're doing, and change and react to the current situation. And I think we're still evolving and changing.
And one, it's incredible, and I think what I like that you mentioned also, like, get feedback from employees and change. And we see this really as a common thread with the companies that we speak with. Is basically you put your employees first. You treat them as customers in a sense, right? And you want to see the part of it is like a product that you're selling. You're selling the company and the culture, the connection of the company. And it brings me to the question of really how do you maintain, right? So you have like, hiring, then you're on board, but then how do you maintain people, right? Employees for long term. And how do you instill the culture of TikTok, the fun culture of TikTok, when it's virtual and, distributed, which is going to still be the same, right? So.
Liza, this is a great question, and this is something that I think about daily, and I think TikTok cares deeply about. And I think a lot of that is, how are we authentic? How do we replicate the experience almost of the product? If people coming to join us want to be a part of something that is authentic, that is fun, that is very diverse, that is very inclusive, and how are we constantly checking in to see, is this also the experience, what it's like after someone joins? Are we authentic? Are we inclusive? Are we diverse? Are we fun? Are we creative? And I think as leaders, we have to always be sense checking and say, is this the current state? And we have to role model it. I think for us, a lot of it has been allowing people to be themselves and encouraging people to be authentically themselves and share themselves with each other, which really is what the platform embraces. And I think celebrates is the uniqueness of voices and how interesting learning about each other are. And really over the last 2.5 years, we couldn't help it. You see people's houses or their apartments. You see their parents walk by or their partners. You meet the mailman. You meet the children. Like you know so much more about each other because we are literally working in each other's living room. And so I think laughing about it, understanding it, and talking about it has made us much stronger and really helped us to talk about our culture that way of let's embrace who we are and be supportive of each other. So example of that is, I have small children. They're running in and out of the camera, or I might have to block my calendar for feeding the baby or picking the kids up from school. And instead of hiding that and making lots of private meetings and not telling everybody why I'm not available, I freely talk about that, my obligations as a parent and the struggles of balancing at-home parent care with at-home work. And hopefully that gives other people an opportunity to say, oh, me too. Yeah, this is exhausting. Or like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, my baby's been crying for the last hour and I can't do anything about it. She was supposed to be napping. I know I was on this work call. And I think if we are celebrating ourselves and being authentic, that encourages more of the people around us to be authentic. And I think that's something that is really strong in our culture at TikTok. And it is embracing us as individuals and being very, very inclusive and celebrating that. I think when I look across our ERGs, our employee affiliate groups, we have lots of incredible voices and shared experiences and unique experiences. We try to always be blending that into our employee kind of day-to-day culture and dialogue as well.
I love it. And I think that you touched on a point that is very important, that leadership should be vulnerable and open. I'm sure that this is something that was distilled to the employees. So I'm wondering what additional things that you've learned in terms of leaders and role models effectively in this time and going forward that helped your employees.
I think, the leaders being transparent as humans and as people.
As humans.
And very, very simply, it is talking about the other things in life, such as family care, child care, elder care, or people saying, it's important for me to go for a run every day. Like, I need this run. I need to be running to have my energy and health and mental health in a right place. We have leaders who talk about blocking their calendar to go for runs, to walk their dogs, to pick up their kids. And so they are sharing something very personal about themselves and encouraging the rest of the people to also own that. They can also block their calendars from a time management perspective. I think for leaders, we do lots of virtual town halls. And for us as leaders to just be saying, I've been stressed. This is a lot. Here's how I'm feeling. I think that sounds very basic and simple, but it can be quite meaningful for people to think, oh, that person who seems like they are always so put together and they're leading it and they're positive, they can share that they're stressed out as well. And sometimes it's just saying the words out loud, and that can give comfort to the rest of the team, especially during things like COVID, when you're virtual, when you have distributed teams who are working all over the place and you're working very busy online and things are over chat, and you have a few opportunities to connect. And when we can connect, we turn our videos on and we're chatting and we're sharing a little bit about what's going on in our personal lives, how we're feeling. I think a lot of the leaders often start calls that way, especially our global town halls. We do a coffee chat with our global head of sales. And most of it starts with a 5-minute introduction of how are you doing? How's he feeling that day? How's his family? How's he feeling about the events in the world? And I think a lot of us try to mirror that so that, if you can be vulnerable, then your team feel like they can be vulnerable and you build that trust. And when you build that trust, then teams come to you with advice. They come to you seeking advice or to give you feedback yourself. As leaders, we always need feedback. If you create vulnerability, if you create trust, then it's an open dialogue. And I think then you build really strong partnership with your team. And you can build, incredibly loyal teams who are there through the difficult times and help you build when you have to go lightning speed. And so I think vulnerability is really important because it allows us to speak very truthfully.
I think it's so true. I can completely relate. And I also have 2 small kids, so I completely relate for everything that you mentioned. That just I'm on a call and I'm like, I don't have my camera on because I'm breastfeeding, and it's like all my team is like they're already aware of like the schedules. I have like a usual call that I'm just like breastfeeding because this is the time that my daughter needs to eat, and we're like laughing about it, that this is her time.
It's not a huge benefit of
like
work from home.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think it's amazing in that sense. One thing that you touched upon, which is very interesting, is the fact, one, that you have a global team effectively, and you build this trust, with managers and their teams. But how do you create this cross collaboration between teams when they are so distributed? Would love to hear.
We have an internal chat. So we have a software we've developed in-house. It's called Perk. It has a similar functionality to any sort of online, company chat tool. And for us, we are chatting all the time. But a lot of it's doing group chat. And I think when you have teams working all over the world, teams working in different time zones, having a live thread where you can go back and read, what did I miss over the last 6 hours, or what did I miss over the weekend, or I was away for a week, what did I miss? You can go back and read through it because it's documented in real time, which I think has been kind of a lovely tool that I hope I know we will continue to rely on it even when we are back in the office, when our offices are reopening. But virtually, when no one is having kind of sidebar conversations over the coffee machine or in the elevator, everything is right there. So having a live chat is also very inclusive. Like everyone is part of that information at the same time. So when you're on a group chat and people are asking questions and answering and pasting in a resource link, it gives everyone the same access to knowledge. And I think that allows people to jump in and say, oh, I worked on a project like that before. Or, hey, I have an idea. So for us, also being part of that live chat, I think the constant online chatting, if you are encouraging everyone to be involved, the leaders to be vulnerable, always seeking other people's opinion, creating that trust so that people can live chat, everybody on the set, oh, actually, I found a flaw in this idea, or hey, there might be this issue. Has anybody thought of that? Everyone is encouraged to take a part of it. It is, incredibly a flat tool, right? Live chat isn't hierarchical. And so when you're just chatting with each other, I think all the time it allows for this dynamic that feels like we are actually talking. So I've been in New York this week and seeing people and meeting people who I haven't actually met before in person, but because we're constantly online and chatting with each other, I feel like I've known them really well. Like I know about their moms, I know about their dogs, I know the wedding they went to, I know the birthday. We're just always chatting, we're sharing pictures, and it's a blend of personal and work, and it gives just that feeling of casualness versus email. So email is a formal document. I think, just a
100%.
specific resource. You think about it, you send it, and it's documented. Versus chat, which is stream of consciousness. In a bit, we put work, professionalism into it, but you can ask questions and get answers very, very quickly in real time, versus the kind of formality of an email. And it allows people to bring their own voice. We love using emojis, Liza. Like emojis are an acceptable form of language. And when you're a global company, I think it's a superpower to have one accepted language, and emoji is an accepted language.
Love
So,
it.
the thumbs up, we've got heart size, we have all sorts of amazing fun emojis that the team has designed to convey interesting messages of like, wow, stressed, tired. Can you believe that? Like, all these fun internally designed emojis that we've adopted as kind of our own jargon.
One, it's such a cool idea. I think it also makes like the emojis part. We did this as well, like small emojis from things that we did in our platform, and like we use it. It's really, really funny, and also I think it goes back to like being this group. It unites you in a sense, right? And also, I really
think of language as culture, right? Like we always think of language as roots our culture, and company jargon and language is the culture. And if you can make it a symbol or an emoji, everybody can speak it, no matter what your home country language was. You all can speak a heart sign.
That's incredible. Also, I think that it's great what you mentioned in that for a chat that is flat, right? So no matter who you are, your rank, what do, you are just, you can give your opinion. I think it probably creates a really great inclusive environment in that sense, that you can speak up no matter what, regardless if you're engineer, PM, HR, doesn't matter. We all have equal voices. And I'm sure it's very important. Yes.
Well, Liza, I was gonna say, I think that's a big benefit for being virtual. We have been working from home, it's been very inclusive and very flat, because everyone has the same size Zoom box or video box, and everyone is there and hears the information at the same time. One of the challenges I think that we all have to think about in going back to workplaces and the hybrid work model is the in crowd and the out crowd. The people who happen to be in the office having that quick conversation, and the people who are at home waiting to dial in on Zoom for a team meeting. And a few people had a conversation on the way to the meeting room. They chatted about it, had a great idea over coffee, and they say, oh, guys, we don't even need to have the meeting anymore. We already fixed it. We got it done. You can have very quick things in person. You can have sidebar conversations when you're in an office, walking around, not intentionally exclusive, but it just happens because that's the dynamic of an office. Whereas you'll have people who are waiting at home to dial into the meeting to be a part of it, who might lag behind in information, might lag behind in the decision-making process. And so I think that's a challenge we do have to be thoughtful of.
And actually, it's a really good point, because you are returning to offices, distributed offices. You will have a hybrid work model. So I'm wondering how I'm sure you have plans on how to tackle one. This is only one challenge in that sense, right? Is the office people versus the remote people, and how will it work together? How do you make sure that information is flowing? Like exactly what you touched upon.
Yeah, I could give you a list of challenges, Liza, and I don't have answers for them yet. But it's simple things like, I was in the office this week and I had a full calendar. But in the days of working remotely, you don't need to book a room to have a chat. You just are sitting on your laptop
You're just sitting on your laptop all day.
You're in your bedroom or in your office. And when I was in the office, I realized I didn't have rooms booked on any of these meetings. People would put meetings all on my calendar, And as a HR leader, most of the conversations are possibly
Private.
confidential or private, and they don't
Yeah.
want me shouting in the middle of the office the information with the sound up. And I was racing around trying to find a corner, a stairwell, squeeze into a meeting room somebody hadn't booked, asking our wonderful admin team if they had any secret meeting rooms they were holding. You know, they're just, it's not in the practice anymore to put a meeting room on a calendar invite, or you know, chatting with candidates all day long for our recruitment team or business leaders. You don't want to have that discussion out in the open. So do we build lots of phone booths? And, you know, how do you do that? When you're in a large office space, it physically takes time to walk to meeting rooms. I remember this before COVID. So while I was there, while I've been in New York, we're just starting meetings late all the time because you have to walk between floors, you wait for an elevator bank. And so, you know, these are just, you know, silly little challenges, but I think it's good to be thoughtful of them when you're back to work. Do you start meetings all 8 minutes late? Do you end them all 10 minutes early so they can start at 10? What are you going to do? And then you have somebody sitting at home on Zoom who's just like, what is going on, guys? I've been here for 10 minutes.
For sure. And I think what would be interesting, and I'm wondering how you tackling this in general, is the learning feed and like the feedback and learning loop from employees. What are the tools that you use in order to, you know, understand employees' thoughts, feeling, what works, what not, and how do you iterate?
I think our first line of communication is our HR team. You know, the business team, of course, leaders should always be getting feedback from their employees and taking that on, and how we can make better workplace and more engaged employees. And but really, our HR business partners, I think, are an incredible front line who are caring and compassionate and really have their pulse on the employee groups and the leaders. More formally, we do engagement surveys, very thorough annual engagement survey sent out to all employees globally, spend a lot of time really trying to drill down through that employee sentiment, the data, the free text that is written to get a feeling of where are employees feeling really engaged, where are areas for us to improve on as a company, where are leaders striving, where are areas that we need to encourage and develop and things like that.
Great. And question, as part of, you know, your return to hybrid and office in general, in a distributed way, how would you generate, like you mentioned, we talked a lot about meaningful connections virtually, but how are you going to, you know, encourage that? I would say in a physical office again.
You know, I don't know if we will need much encouragement, Liza. Snippets of information I am hearing and from what I experienced this week, you know, going back to the office is like going to a family reunion or a college reunion. There is so much just pent up excitement for people. There is so much hugging going on. There is you know, I could hear laughter across the office of people, you know, saying, "Oh my goodness, you know, I had no idea you were so tall." Just like people like the delightfulness of being with other human beings that we haven't been able to capture virtually. So while we've done, you know, virtual happy hours or virtual ERGs, getting people in the office, it is a natural chemistry that happens. So we are hosting lots of different team get-togethers, team offsites, casual, afternoon, impromptu, happy hours with a leader on the balcony. We invite creators in to come and talk to us as a company, as a product. You know, we bring clients in to talk and have an event with clients. I don't think that we're going to have to work very hard at building the personal get together aspect of it. From what I've seen, it was very natural. There were large groups of people going to lunch together, large groups of people going out afterwards to get drinks together, large groups of people who said, a group on my team got together and took a trip. They all flew to Chicago and had a weekend trip. And I said, I wasn't even invited. What are you guys all doing? They're like, oh, we're just here because, now that we can travel again and we feel a little bit safer with, COVID and different things going on, we really wanted to get together and meet each other. We've been working together for 2 years and have never met. And so we just picked a place in the middle of the country. And, I think that there is an innate drive to be connected as human beings. And so I don't think we have to over-architect that too much as a company. I don't think that we have to necessarily have big, splashy events to encourage our employees to get together. I think just having a space, one of the things that we are seeing, and I just saw this week, was if you can communicate with a team, with a group of people, with the company, what day that you will be collaborating with this. So if you have a hybrid situation, there's, if you go into the office and no one's there, that's not really fun.
You're like, why are you here
on Monday? Exactly. But nobody else is here on Monday. I should have just stayed home. And so we do see a need to communicate, like, hey, how about Tuesday is a collaboration day, or let's have Wednesday is the day for HR to come in and work together, or marketing or something like that, so that there is this understanding, okay, we'll be there together. I'll get really excited to see my colleagues, because if you don't communicate that, then it can be very disjointed and you don't necessarily get that kind of fun of team collaboration.
And I think it touches a point of basically the office, or just going in an office and an in-person environment is much more focused now on the collaborative aspect, like exactly what you mentioned. Like I don't want to go, like I don't want to commute just for the sake of sitting by myself. It's making sure that I meet my team and having visibility to it, in a sense, right? This is what I hear from you.
100%. And so I am so excited to go back to the office, Liza. Like, I am very pro going back to the office, because I believe it's where we find joy in work. We can all have impact through our work, and we can find a lot of value and self-fulfillment through work. But when we are together with our team, with our people, with our colleagues, that is where that human to human joy comes from, of the unexpected conversations, the people to meet more about. Over lunch, you learn someone's history, going out to dinner together, or drinks, or like having a chat in an elevator. I think that is the just sparks of joy that we feel when we're around other people. And so I do think that workplace becomes a community, and it really highlights the culture, and it can amplify the culture, and it can make a really engaging life force in its own, that I think we have tried very creatively and very intentionally to try to replicate virtually. But I think it's very hard. And like we said, people get Zoom fatigue. And so it can become difficult to keep the momentum of virtual coffee chats and virtual small talk, because you're tired of looking at a laptop. But in the office, there were just people just chatting all day there. I think when we go back, we're going to have to be ready for a dip in productivity, but an increase in engagement. So I think it's a fair trade-off to have people more engaged and just more joyful, and just coming together.
Kate, you're incredible, and I love what you say. I think it's spot on. Final question. What is your favorite TikTok emoji that you've created? I have to ask, listen.
My favorite emoji, Liza, you can look it up. And we like get a report of our most used emojis, which is like a very fun annual stat report. Of course, we love data, right? Like, we're a tech company, we love data. So you get your most used emojis, and mine is the finger heart, which, if you haven't seen it, it's quite popular in like Korea boy band or like pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't even know what like it really symbolizes, but like the Taylor Swift, the T Swift part, this is the finger heart. And I put it on everything for like, great idea. I support you. Like, okay, we'll work through this. No worries. Like it's a way, it's like an empath kind of emoji. So our finger heart emojis. And when someone sends a message, you emoji the message. So you don't have to reply. There's not a reply box. So you see a message and it can have 50 different types of emojis attached to it. One person saying, that's wild. One person says thumbs up, and 20 people say finger heart. Like, it's just a very fun way of communicating. But yes, the finger heart emoji has been my go-to for the last 3 years.
Love it. Love it. Kate, thank you so much for your time. It was incredible. So thoughtful and learning. Thank you everyone who joined us. And I will see you in New York.
Thanks, Liza. Can't wait to see you. Enjoy the West Coast sunshine.
Bye, Kate.